Hey, I hope y'all have had a good day. I want to show you how I make classic chicken salad. I want to show you a little trick though before we get started. It's got celery in it. And did you know that you can do celery kind of like you do string beans? You know how celery, sometimes when you cut it, got all that stringiness there. You have to be careful because it goes a long way down. But I like the tender ones too, but you can actually just start and just pinch a little bit and it starts bringing that off. See, look at there. And that gets that outward part that normally, look at there, that you would be dealing with when you were chopping up your celery. Look, see, so try that sometimes. Just kind of like taking the strings off of string beans, green beans. And so anyway, just a little tip for you. I've started with 2 cups of chicken breast that I have cooked in the crock pot since lunch. You know, I like to do mine in here where it's warm so that it breaks up a lot better because we like ours like this. If you like yours cut in chunks, you won't cook yours as tender as I do. And then you won't stir as much as I do because it'll break it up. But anyway, I eat it anyway. But this, if I'm going to be making it, this is the way that I'm going to make it. And as I stir, it'll break it up even more. And so we're going to start with 2 cups of the chicken breast. And then we're going to go, let me show you what I've got here. It calls for 1 green onion, okay, and I take it down to about right there. I stop about right there. I don't put all this in there. And again, I tell you to be careful, just like I did with the cracked chicken ranch salad, is unless you like an overpowerfully whatever onion flavor, don't overdo the green onions because when it sits in the refrigerator, they get stronger and stronger. I want just a hint of a taste of onion. I don't want the taste that I get to be all onion. And so be careful. I've probably got, I don't know, that's probably, well, that's just 2 little thick stalks, okay? So ever how much that turned out to be. Now, I've got, it calls for a whole stalk of celery, and I don't normally put that much, but I cut it up really fine. See how little the pieces are? So I have got about 2 tablespoons of the chopped celery. And then the wonderful thing in it that gives it its flavor is fresh dill. Look at that. And so I probably have, the recipe only calls for 1 teaspoon. I normally put about 2. You start with the 1 teaspoon and see how much dill flavor you want in it. But that is what's going in. The celery, the green onions, and the fresh dill. I've never used dry dill, so I don't know. It's not going to have as strong a flavor, maybe not as good a flavor. I guess in a pinch you could, but I always. And one question for y'all, do y'all use these stalks? I don't use the big stalks. Am I wasting dill by not doing that? But anyway, I just get the greenery off of it. But this is what the fresh dill looks like, okay? And so anyway, we're going to add this to it. Make sure I get all of that. Y'all see my little bowl? It's Tinkerbell. I've had that ever since Ginger. She turned 17, and I've had this ever since she was little, and all the girls have used it. And so that is that. Okay, now it calls for a ½ teaspoon of salt. I only use the seasoned salt, and I like the Lowry, so we're going to put a little bit of the seasoned salt. Maybe about a ½ teaspoon. We don't want to overdo it, okay? And then it calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of the black pepper. And I'm just going to put a little black pepper. Now, you could use the coarse black pepper. Just know that it's going to have a stronger flavor, okay? One other thing that I put in mine that I think gives it a good flavor is the Dijon mustard. And so I'm going to put about a ½ teaspoon. I just opened this, so it's not as thick as it normally would be if it was in the refrigerator. And then the recipe only called for mayo. I like a mayo sour cream combination. And so I'm going to go in. It called for just a ½ cup of mayonnaise, and that is too dry for us. So I'm going to go in with a ½ cup of my favorite sour cream, the Daisy. And then I'm going to go in with a ½ cup of mayo. And then we're going to see how much, if we need anything else, what we need to season it with. So let's see where we are. This is so good on croissants. It's so good just to eat it by itself with crackers. And when I serve it up, just like for in a, a little dish or something like that, I'll put a couple of petite dill pickles. It gives it a nice little garnishment, and it tastes good too to eat that with it. And so this is really moist enough. I know I don't need any more of the mayonnaise and the sour cream. And so let me taste of it. Got one little piece of meat that doesn't want to tear up. Let me get my trusty little fork that I use, and let's see what we got. It needs just a tad more of this. The dill flavor is really good. Now, it's strong. That's why I say you start with a teaspoon, because you may not like as strong a flavor in the dill that that I do and that we do, or whatever. And so anyway, this is what it looks like. I'm gonna put some back in my little Tinkerbell bowl and let you see it. Isn't that pretty? Look at that. See how easy that was? Your most time-consuming thing is chopping up the celery, and then your little onion, and then your dill. Other than that, you've cooked your chicken in the crock pot, and remember, save that broth, because you're going to freeze that and use that in another recipe later. But anyway, I hope that you'll try this. We really love it, and so it's a good go-to. It keeps in the refrigerator 3 days. I have eaten on it 4, but normally with chicken dishes, 3 days is about my limit in the refrigerator, but I will eat it 4. But I hope you'll try it. I hope that you'll keep faith in your heart, peace in your home, and good food on your table. I love you, and God bless.